something on your face!
But really passionate to me. The reason that I decided to be a career and life coach is because I fell in love, and I wanted to recreate a moment for someone else in their life where they could just feel what I had felt in love for a small period of time. So that is why I decided to be a career and life coach, so that I can empower women and people to live their best life every day and do what they love and really help them achieve their goals. So one of the challenges for me was figuring out what I was passionate about and considering the lies that I had been telling myself, and which I find that a lot of professionals do tell themselves. So I kind of put it back on the audience to think about, when you leave here today, the lies that you've been telling yourself on what makes you not the best that you can be, and thinking about what that really means for you and how to be your best self. Tuba also asked where I see myself in 5 years.
The White House.
That's what I was thinking. I would have to say, in the next 5 years, I hope to see myself thriving and living in my truth, and to no longer be lying to myself about the things that I have doubted myself about being able to do in the past. And like, I only get this one life.
Yeah.
So I want to make it my best life. And I want to do it with the people that I love the most. And I guess maybe I can mention one other challenge that I have as I think about what it means to be a woman in a career. Just knowing that I can do anything. And really believing that, right? Like genuinely believing that we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Except that, because I didn't do that. So yeah, I think we'll have some more questions, and I'm happy if you guys can be around, ask any questions. I was talking to someone earlier about leadership and being a woman and being a woman of color and empowerment, and I love talking about all of those things. So if you guys can be around, please feel free to ask any questions, and I'm sure I'll get to answer some stuff for you guys up here on the panel as well. And with that,
Fellowship, which is a college access program based here in New York City. What we do is work with students starting in middle school who are high achieving, low-income students from all over the city, and helping them on that pathway to college, understanding that, thinking about what your potential is doesn't have to start, senior year when you're thinking about, after graduating high school, but it really starts really early on when you're 10, 11 years old, having those dreams of being a doctor, being an astronaut, all of those things. So it's really exciting to work with students that are so young and helping them think about their futures in a way that's really meaningful to them, but also in a way that empowers them to see beyond what's in their neighborhood or in their lived circumstances all the time, and really not just dreaming big, but also having the resources to be able to act on those dreams that they have. So that's the work that I do. How I ended up in that work, I started in education from the beginning. So I grew up in the South Bronx, and I went to a private school here in New York City, the Spence School, and I was one of very few students of color in the school, scholarship kid all the way through, and I appreciated my education, but I often felt like, I couldn't really speak out that much because I was blessed to have a seat at the table. You know, it wasn't an educational space that was meant for me. And so there were times when I wanted to speak up. There were times when I felt like I wanted to be a little bit more critical of the experience that I was having at my school, or why didn't we talk more about Black history or things like that, and I didn't when I was in high school. And I think when I got to college and took more African American studies classes, took other types of classes where I thought, okay, I have the power to speak up about these issues, and there are other kids that are in my neighborhood that just didn't have the same resources and opportunities that I did. It doesn't mean that they're not smart or couldn't get all the way through here. So all those things that I was fed in childhood, that I was, you know, one of the exceptions, I really wanted to reverse that. So after going to college, I went to Princeton University. I worked there for several years as an admissions officer, and it was really exciting to be on that side of things, but also very frustrating and challenging in a lot of the ways. I wanted to advocate more for students, and there's just a limit when you're denying 93% of the kids who apply. It just didn't feel like an empowering space. So that's what made me move into this college access space where I can say yes to every single student that I work with, and all of them going to great high schools, great colleges, which is really exciting, and then also really shifting the narrative of that exceptionalism. While we're working with really talented students, it's not just about like you're the exception and you're going to go on and leave all the people behind you, behind, but it's really about you have a great opportunity, one, with your natural gifts and intelligence, but also with this education that you're getting, this is your opportunity to transform your community around you. So inspire your younger siblings to also go to college, inspire, take a social issue that's going on in your community and really focus on that and move forward as well. So I think my work is not just about getting great kids to college, but also thinking about helping them understand how they can use their natural gifts and talents and what they'll gain through an education to really impact the world around them. So yeah, that's my work and that's what I do. And so some of the other questions I get. 5 years. Definitely moving forward in the educational sphere. Right now I work in a nonprofit. I really enjoy that, but I think I still feel limited because we're beholden to donors. As many people who might work in nonprofits or other types of work, if you're not at the very top, there's a limit to how many decisions that you can make and the space that you have to be creative about the work that you do. So I hope that in 5 years I'm in a space where I'm, a power player around the table and not just kind of asking those power players.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Marissa Fair, the CEO of Her Healthy Q, and we have our global nonprofit focused on women's health in developing countries. And we work in the kind of the second world space, not the first world like here in the States, not the third world like so many places that we see on the news. The second world where there's so many areas that are just kind of forgotten about, especially in the women's health space. And so let's take the step back. Like I'm from a corporate background. I had no idea I was going to start a nonprofit. I saw an issue. I was living in another country, and a lot of times people just say, "Oh, okay, great. Here's an issue," and then keep on walking. And I figured, let me figure out how to fix that. And so, while still working in corporate, I figured out how to fix that. And now I'm able to be wildly creative as the founder and CEO of a nonprofit. Unfortunately, that decision changes often where our paths are going to go, but we're a 2-year-old organization and we're really focused on women's health, and in developing countries, women are the ones that are really making the decisions for their family, for their community, and for the society as a whole. And so to be able to support these women, and if they're healthy, their children go to school, especially their girls go to school, which means that they can, within one generation, lift their entire family out of poverty. And so, but without their health, they can't do that. So we take medical equipment and devices from a lot of these large pharmaceutical and large medical device companies, and we repurpose them. And we get them to the people who need them most. And so often sad to say, a lot of us in the space are probably in marketing and branding or know people who are in that space, and every time you make a marketing and branding change, things get thrown away, and that includes medical equipment. But nobody in rural Tanzania cares if your logo is green or blue. Nobody cares. They just want a working piece of equipment. So we're providing those pieces of equipment so that we can be able to save and treat these women's lives. And so we're focused on cancers affecting women, maternal health, diabetes, and heart disease. Those are the top 4 non-communicable diseases that are affecting women in developing countries. You know, these are countries where it's wonderful they don't have to think so much about malaria and polio and waterborne diseases, but then they don't have access to care, and oftentimes second world countries actually lose a lot of aid. They are forgotten about. They're in this middle situation. They don't have all the aid that's coming to them as a third world country, as a first world country. They're all not generating enough income to get all of this, you know, not need any of the aid. So they're in this kind of stuck in this catch-22, and we're trying to really treat these diseases that can be prevented and are treatable. And but I mean, for me, I've become a serial entrepreneur. It was all by accident. And so one of the things that I always say to people who are aspiring as entrepreneurs or just want to hear about it or have ideas even within their own companies, I mean, you have to be open to hear what other options are out there. I never thought this was going to be an option for me. I never even wanted it. Like, I didn't think about this. And so quite honestly, I saw an opportunity. I took a chance. And you know, I started an organization. I'm running 2 other for-profit businesses at the same time. And it's one of those things where if my eyes weren't open, I would never have been able to see some of these opportunities, and I wouldn't be able to pivot as easily as I have been able to. And I think that's really important, especially as an entrepreneur. You need to be able to see what's out there, keep your eyes open, and just be able to pivot to what is true to your goal, you know, to yourself and your mission. And I was fortunate to kind of fall into the women's health space because of a company I was working at, and kind of became my life's mission. And yeah, it's just, I was able and open to look at everything. And then, so in 5 years, as we keep saying, it's really, especially for a nonprofit, we want to be at a very sustainable place as far as funding goes. I mean, you know, nonprofits rely on donors. We decided to do something a little bit differently, especially as we're a new nonprofit. We do a lot of work with corporations, and there's just large corporations, medium, you know, any size corporation, and they want to give back, and they don't know how. This is one of the reasons and ways that they can give back. They can work with us and sponsor a site in Tanzania to cure cervical cancer, or you know, work with us in Costa Rica for breast cancer. You know, we do a lot of other things, and so maybe that's one way that they want to give back, and that's a place where they live and they work. So we're trying to do things a little differently. So in 5 years, we're hoping that that's a really sustainable, you know, course of income for us. And then for me personally, honestly, I want to almost have this organization running like as a fine, well-oiled machine that when I go on vacation, I don't have to check my phone. That would be wonderful. As an entrepreneur, it's nice to take that detached time. And yeah, I just would really, you know, my goal is in 5 years for us to be helping and have treated at least 1 million women in the developing world. I hope to be in at least 20 countries by then. Right now we are in 3 countries. By the end of this year, we'll probably be in 6. And so I just, you know, 5 years, we think that's a sustainable growth plan. And, you know, I just want to keep on growing and helping women's lives. That's to me the most important thing.
Yeah.
So what are the odds that I get to follow these 3 amazing women? But my name is Relisha Gibson. I am the CEO and founder of Moms Who Grind. My whole entire platform and brand is based on moms can still have a life and still be fabulous after you become mothers. I know many of you probably are moms, or some people I talk to, they're like, well, my mom sacrificed her life so that I could go to college, or that I could, you know, follow my dreams and be a creative. So for me, that's very important. I came from, corporate background, and I was an entrepreneur at a very young age. I used to own a modeling agency, so I was always on the scene, out and about, at events, and then having 2 kids back to back. I had 2 toddler daughters. They're 4 and 3, so my house is very busy. So trying to find the balance between work and having, a business, but also still working a regular job and raising babies. And now they're getting to school and pre-K, and my daughter's going to kindergarten. So trying to manage all of those things, I just think it's very important to be the representation for that. I meet so many women, and they're like, how do you do it all? But just 2 years ago, I was in a very dark space, and I was going through like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get my life back to my old life? How am I going to still run a business? How am I still going to be this way and be that way? Because as mothers, as women, as society, they box moms. That you're not supposed to look like this, you're not supposed to dress like this, you're not supposed to act or talk like this. And who is to say that society or anybody could define you? So my platform is just reinventing moms and empowering and supporting other mothers, that you can be fabulous, that you can be beautiful, you can be sexy, you can be yourself, you can still have fun, you can still have a drink, you can still do whatever thing that you want to do and be a mom. And your kids are still looking up to you, and they still think that you're fabulous at the end of the day. So right now, my company is in startup. We're just very new. So I'm just really kind of going out and engaging in the community and meeting people and letting them embrace me and see who I am and what I'm about, and just kind of finding out their stories, because I know my story. I've had a couple of conversations tonight, and someone asked me, do you guys talk about postpartum? And we talk about all things from that in between, because I did go through postpartum. My kids are 11 months apart. So once my first daughter was planned, once my second daughter came, it was kind of like, oh my God, I didn't plan for this. And it was just a lot of different things going on in my personal life that I just didn't feel prepared for that second kid. And I went through a phase of, like I said, how am I going to get this life back? And I had to really take a step back and be real with myself, as Blair has stated. Like, sometimes we're not honest with ourselves. Sometimes our expectations are not real. So especially as a mom, you're trying to meet your personal life expectations, maybe your relationship expectations, and on top of your kid's expectations. And I had to think of, what can I do now that I can combine my now life with what I'm passionate about, what my dreams are. So that's how I created this concept of Moms Who Grind, because my passion is entrepreneurship and business and being a creative. And as a Black woman, I support Black businesses and Black creatives and giving platforms back to that opportunity. I've always been kind of a vocal, outspoken person, but I know there's a lot of people who don't always have that. They may walk in a room like this, and they're going to stand in the corner all night. They're not going to talk to anybody. So I try to encourage that. So if I have friends and people that I know that I'm like, I'm having an event, come out. But now I'm making you talk to people. This is my friend Blair. This is my friend Tony, blah, 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 blah. And I'm pushing them to get out of that box, to step out of that comfort zone. So I was, like I said earlier, I was having a conversation with someone, and we were talking about representation. And I feel like as parents, we always talk about representation, especially amongst Black parents, that it's important for our kids to see and to idolize people doing things. But the representation amongst us Black women, it's important for another Black mother, another Black woman to see me doing what I'm doing and confidently doing it, and saying I can go into different rooms with anybody from any background and people are going to like me just because of my personality. So I think that that's just important in all aspects of entrepreneurship. Events like this are so important. So I appreciate Alex and Blair and Tubi for putting on this event and allowing me to speak on this platform. I would say as far as my 5-year goals, it's kind of cut in the middle. I have a 4-year-old, and right now we're going through, oh my God, what schools is she going to go through for kindergarten? So in 5 years it'll be middle school. And as far as career goals, I just want to thrive. I want to be able to empower and touch as many people as I can. So if that means going to one room and I give my card to one woman and she calls me and we just have a heart-to-heart, we cry on the phone, and she's like, thank you so much for this conversation. That's really what my mission is about. It's about impacting people and change. And then we were asked some other questions, like what was the question, what do we feel like we champion for our career? I think my biggest, what I have done the most to champion my career is being myself and being comfortable in my own skin, not letting other people, family, friends, define me, and just sticking to what I'm really truly passionate about. So when I had kids and people said to me, you're a mom now, So now this is your life. This is what you're going to do. This is what you are. You're a mom. You can't have a business. You can't have a thriving relationship. You got to pick between your kids and, you know, marriage or relationships. And I was like, nah, that's not me. That's not who I am. I can do it all. I have to find a way to work it all out. So I think that that has been the best thing that I've done for myself, and not allowing myself to be trapped and just freeing myself and still striving for what I wanted to strive for and going after my dreams. And I just encourage everybody, but especially women, to do that, because we can get stuck in those confinements.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I'm going to introduce Alex, the founder of 225 West. He's going to...
We have a question over here.
Okay. Oh, you have a mic?
Great. So it's not necessarily January anymore, so the new year has happened, but what is one thing you're most looking forward to doing in 2019? It could be something fun, it could be career-wise, basically anything.
I guess I'm gonna start. I think what I'm most looking forward to is having clarity and purpose in what I plan to do with my career next, and really defining what it means, right? You start off, when you're an entrepreneur, you start off with these whole big dreams, right? I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna help everyone. And then you realize, yeah, I'd really like to do that, but that's not sustainable today. So it's figuring out what is realistic for me to continue to achieve my goals and set realistic goals that are measurable for me in a way that I don't feel like I'm defeated every time I haven't touched every single person in the world and been able to connect with them. So it's having a purpose and meaningful relationships that evolve into me supporting someone else really achieve their goals, right? That's what my business is, right? It's helping people get to where they want to be while still walking the walk and talking the talk. So like, I can't just say, hey, I really think you should focus on these goals and achieve these goals, and this is how we're going to do it, but I'm not doing any of it. So really, that's what I'm looking forward to, purpose and clarity.
I think for myself, I'm looking for a balance. I think I spent a lot of years hustling, both in school and work-wise, and I'm excited to invest in my relationships, both friends and boyfriend and family and all, like really getting rooted in my community as much as I've kind of rooted myself in the hustle.
I like that.
Yeah.
The hustle. Hashtag that guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you're a mood. Now you're a home.
Do that again.
So for me, every year I pick a word. This year it happens to be sustainability, but that's sustainability in like just keep on going, and you can't be 100% in like the nonprofit, in the for-profit, in your life, or whatever. It's sustainability, like what is going to allow me to sustain and be like a normal human being and not crazy, like for a long duration of time. So whether that's a person, you know, training people up so that they can do something that I don't have to do, or dedicating a certain amount of hours to, you know, yoga so that I can mentally be prepared for the challenges ahead, or whatever it happens to be. The sustainability, obviously in finance and in life, and just for sustainability going forward, because whatever we do in like this year, there's like whole, I mean, I hope 50, 60, 70 years in the future that all of the things that a lot of us are doing are going to sustain for. So to be able to set this year up so that in the future we can just keep on going forward, and that it's at a normal pace and not, you know, you can't do startup forever.
Right.
And actually, December 31st, I told our entire organization that we are dropping the word startup. We're no longer a startup nonprofit, we're a growth nonprofit, and I think like that's a shift. And when you shift to the growth phase, like you have to become sustainable. Right. So that's my plan.
For myself, I think growth and happiness. I think for a lot of years I was in an unhappy space, and I was telling myself, or I may have outwardly seemed happy, but I wasn't internally happy. As a mom, that transcends over to my kids. So when I'm happy and when I'm thriving and when things are going well in mom world, things are going good with the kids and vice versa. So when I'm not happy or things are going. And then growth, I'm just a person, I believe in overall growth always, no matter what your position, how much money you have, what's your background, where you currently are, where you were before, you can always grow past that stage. So I'm always just looking to grow and be a better person.
Thank you.
So my question is, my question is, as an entrepreneur, especially a female entrepreneur, can you give any advice for other entrepreneurs in the room, whether they're models, or DJs, or videographers, photographers, whatever they are? What is something that you've encountered that was a failure or a lesson, and how did you dig your way back out of it? Because I know as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of yo-yoing, like everything's going great, then everything's crashing. I should get a regular job. No, I shouldn't. So can you give any advice to the entrepreneurs in the room as far as when you hit that funk, how do you get yourself out of it?
Do you want me to start, Claire?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll start because since you hit on like models and just creatives and artists in general, like I said, have a background in modeling. I used to run a modeling agency, so I had about 30 models under that I overseen, and I had to make sure that they were taking the right steps for their career. So one word I will express to all entrepreneurs, no matter what your field, is quality. If you want to get yourself to that next level, you want people to recognize you and to see what you're doing, produce quality. So whether that's photos, whether that's your website, whether it's just whatever is attached to your brand, make sure that you're producing quality. I know when you're a startup or when you're an entrepreneur, you're struggling. You don't really have money. You're either using a job to fund your business or you're just funding your business by funding your business, and it's hard. You got to make those decisions like, well, do I invest in a graphic designer or do I eat today? So you got to find that. No, that's real life. You got to find that balance, but always do quality over quantity. Any day.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I would say just keep going. Like, you cannot possibly stop. When you stop, that's when you fail. Every step, and you might think it's a failure, it's a pivot to something else. Or it's a lesson learned to something else that's better. Entrepreneurs just don't stop. And it's not to say, like, we don't take a mental break, of course we do, but just keep on going and keep moving forward, and then like you're going to look back and be like, that was not a failure, that just took me to a better place. So just keep going, just keep moving, and stay true to kind of what your goal and your vision is, but just keep moving forward, because the only time you fail is when you stop.
Well, I have less experience in entrepreneurship, but I think in terms of getting out of a rut with wherever you are in your career or knowing how to move forward when it seems difficult, I think that's something that's really been helpful for me is seeking out mentors that may be unexpected. I think sometimes we think like our mentor has to be doing exactly what we want to do in order for us to really learn from that relationship, but so many of the people who have inspired me in my own career have been in, so I'm in education, but have been in finance, have been in law, have been in medicine, and that there's been something in our conversations or our relationship that I've gleaned from that. And so I think not being so narrow-minded and like, this is my goal, this is the only way I can do it, and this is the only, these are the only types of people I can talk to. I think learning how to learn from everyone has really helped me open up my the opportunities that became available, but then also has helped me find creative ways of getting out of problems that I had before.
I would say you need to figure out why you're doing it. Like, don't do something because it's trendy. Don't do something because you might like it. Like, you need to love what you're doing. Because there are going to be plenty of times when you are not going to do it great, and you're definitely going to fail. You're going to fail miserably, and you should. Because if you're not failing, then you're not growing. You're not learning anything. You're not learning creative ways to figure out how not to do it the next time. So you have to know that the reason that you're doing it is bigger than you. Because if it's not, then you should quit. You should literally stop doing it today. Whatever you're doing, if you're not loving it, or you're not so rooted in it that you just couldn't imagine not having it, then you shouldn't be doing it. I have so many times I was like, should I be a coach? Am I going to help people? Are people going to listen to me? Like, what do I have to offer someone that they can't get from someone else? And it was like, I know, I want people to feel like this. I'm so connected and rooted to what I want people to feel like, and I think people deserve, right? It's the fact that you deserve to feel a certain kind of way, that I wanted to give that to people. And like, I don't know who voted me the person who would be able to give it, but I've had success so far. People like me. So I think that's the biggest thing. You need to make sure that you are absolutely rooted in what you do, and regardless of what obstacles come your way, you can kind of refer back to that root cause of why you started in the first place. Or don't do it, like I said. Quit tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else has a question? If not, I will head
I got one.
One back there?
Okay.
I don't need a mic, but I wanted to know, what would you tell your 5-year-old self today? And I also want the moderator as well
Tuba.
to answer that.
All out.
No, okay. What would I tell my 5-year self?
3 points.
Probably that it gets better. Just keep doing it, it gets better. And life is never going to take you where you expect it to be. 2 years ago, I knew for sure I was never living in New York. I was staying in Connecticut. I had a nice large apartment, and I was never coming to New York. No can vouch for this. My friend is in the room. She goes, "Will you ever move to New York?" I was like, who would do that? And here I am, and I've been here for 2 years now. And so I would have bet every piece of me that I would have never lived here. And so enjoy the ride. That's what I would have said to my 5-year-old self.
I would have said, enjoy that bill-free life.
No rush.
It's a little harder to buy all your toys yourself. Yeah, and then I think continue to ask questions. I think that's always been what has led me to great things, both personally and also professionally. So yeah, just ask questions and have fun.
Yeah, I'd say be an explorer, like continue to be that crazy explorer, like dig out the bugs and the worms, or like dream about going to space, and yeah, just keep exploring, because that'll take you through your entire life, and like just don't let it go, just because you're 5 or you're 10 or 15, just keep exploring, because that'll just serve you, I think, in your entire lifetime. That's what I would tell her.
I think I would say that you are enough. I think I grew up wanting acceptance so much, wanting people to accept how I was. Like I grew up and I was like the scholar, the overachiever, but I wanted people to acknowledge that, and it was kind of just like, oh, you're a smart girl, but not ever getting the praise. And I had to grow into that as an adult, like, well, shit, nobody else gonna tell me I'm good. I'm the bomb. I don't know what y'all talking about. So I would say that, like, you are enough. What you feel of yourself, what you know internally of yourself is enough. You don't need anybody else's acceptance.
Where's your answer?
Right, she's just a model walk across.
She was like, well, excuse me.
Every superhero has like a origin moment, the minute that they know they want to save the world or do something specific. All you women out there are wonderful and doing things to change the world. What was your origin moment, the moment you realized you wanted to be a coach and change lives in that direction? And same for you with admissions, and you wanted to get out of Princeton and do something different. Can you share that moment? That inspiration, that jumping off the cliff to leave the safe comfort of the job, the work, the paycheck, and really try to change the world?
I share this, but I'll share more. And I sometimes hate that this is my answer a little bit. It is because I fell in love. And I hate that that's it, right? I hate it. I wanted to be like, because one day I was reading this magazine, and then I decided I'm leaving everything behind, right? None of
You did that, and then you fell in love.
Yeah, and then I fell in love. It's really because I fell in in love in a way that I had never expected before. I kid you not. Had you been a part of this journey with me, it was unbelievable. It was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I had to check and I went to therapy. I was like, have I lost my mind? Am I crazy? Like what is happening to me? Like, how is this love just, it's been a love that I've never experienced in my life. And it's so hard to put words to it. You had to be with me on this journey. And there are some amazing women in this room who have been with me on this journey and got to sit side by side with me to watch me have this unbelievable, ridiculous, head over heels. You could not believe it. You wouldn't believe it. If it wasn't me, I wouldn't believe it. I kid you not. And that is why I decided to become a coach. I was like, because this shit is real and everybody should know it. And like everyone should feel it about anything. Like it didn't need to be love for people. It could be like your job or your kids or your pets or whatever you want it to be. It could be that for you, but I just wanted to give people like even like a little morsel of what I was feeling. And that was it for me. And I was like, everybody gets it.
For myself, so I was working at Princeton for a few years, and there were protests going on about Woodrow Wilson, who was the president of Princeton before he was the president of the country. He was a white supremacist, supported the KKK. He's all over the campus, and so the Black Student Union was protesting the iconography of Woodrow Wilson all over campus and other issues that were going on. And our higher-ups were saying, you know, as admissions representatives, we can't say anything about the protest. We're not allowed to participate. We're not allowed to speak up about the things that were happening. And that didn't sit well with me. As an alum of the university, but also as someone who cared about the issues going on, I recognized I was in a space where, like, I'm a cog in a machine right now. I'm not able to use my voice in a way that I feel is meaningful. There were other things going on that I felt like I wanted to be an advocate for, not just the students that were already on campus, but students that were applying that I just didn't have the space for. And so that was definitely one of the origin moments for me. I'd been interested in education for a long time, but I think the idea that using my voice to have a critical opinion of the institution everybody. And I think it was something that was really difficult for me at first to step into, because as I talked about, I think a lot of times I was kind of told, like, you're lucky to be in the position you're in, so don't make too much noise, don't speak up too much. So I really had to kind of step into that, both as a person of color, but also specifically as a woman of color, and owning my voice in the space that and owning the space that I was taking up.
I mean, my origin story is one of those that's pretty common, especially nowadays, is I was in corporate life, corporate America for 15 years. I was kind of just fighting with everybody all the time, and they were like, so there's some voluntary layoffs, and I was like, and I'm in. So I decided to start a consulting and advisory firm, having absolutely no idea what I was doing or what I was going to plan to do, and I finally, you know, I did that and got my feet under the ground, got some money in the bank, and then kind of thought back, and there's always something, like I still wanted to give back. I knew I still had this entire 15-year career in the medical device space, so what can I do with that? And I thought back to a project that I actually did while working in corporate America. I said, you know what, like, I can make this into a business, into a nonprofit, and that's exactly what I did. And it was one of those things. It's obviously a common story now with a lot of layoffs that are happening or a lot of job changes. I mean, some people are just forced into entrepreneur life, and either you love it and you make it work, or you go back into corporate, and neither is right, because as we were talking about before, entrepreneurship is not easy. And I think it's not even a daily thing, it's an hourly thing. Like, oh my God, life is great, it sucks. I need a job. No, I don't. It's wonderful. And so my origin story is probably becoming far more popular and common nowadays, but I kind of I was semi-forced into it, and then I just made it to what I wanted it to be. I mean, the reason I was fighting with everybody in corporate was because in my heart I'm an entrepreneur, and so maybe for all you people out there that are fighting with everybody, maybe it's because you're an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to quit your job, ever, but it's something to think about, so.
For myself, It was motherhood, but not in the way that you guys would think. It was when I found myself in that dark place and I was sulking and I was going through depression and I was just angry with circumstances. I had to save myself. So in saving myself and getting myself back out that dark space, I found the light and I was like, I want to help other people get out of this space because I know so many people who go through depression or dark times and they just stay in that space. They don't know how to get out of that space. So people are like, well, how did you overcome this? Or just 2 years ago, or my close friends and some of my family members are like, how did you get out of this space? So now kind of like with Blair, I wanted to share that with other people once I discovered that in myself. But it started with me. It wasn't really about other people.
Hi. Just want to know how you guys approach like telling your spouse or family members like, hey, I'm going to quit my job and go full time into this. Like, how did they receive that, and like, how did you take that reception and make it what it is now?
I mean, I could start with that one. My parents were like, "Oh, great, so you're moving in?" I was like, no. Like that was my ultimate goal, to make sure that like I love my family, but like I'm not moving back in with them ever. I think that if you go with a plan, or even just say, listen, I have no plan, but I have faith in myself, that maybe you can have faith in me, and I'm not asking for you to support me financially, just spiritually. And that always knowing that there's a safe place to come home to, like you do need to ask some advice. You have somewhere to go, and I guess in my case, I'm fortunate enough to have that support system, and not everybody is. But I mean, I also think setting a goal for yourself, like my low is like, shoot, I'm gonna have to move in with my parents if I don't do this, this, and this. And so I knew my bottom. And so you can always get a job. You can always find something. I mean, hopefully you can always find something to do and have that income. But I think it's making sure that you have that support system that can spiritually and mentally support you.
Well, for myself, my first time becoming an entrepreneur was at 20 years old, and I moved to New York at 22, and I just kind of told my family, like, I moved to New York, and they thought I was crazy, and they're like, New York, it's dangerous. I'm from Connecticut, so I grew up in the suburbs. So coming to New York, it was like, oh my God, you're gonna move to New York? Like, it's hood in New York. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be in the hood, I'm gonna be in Manhattan. That's what I thought. Then I got to Manhattan rent, and it wasn't realistic. So, you know, but I just kind of worked it out, and I just kind of went off faith. Like you said, I was young, so when you're young, you kind of got that courageous, I'm going to just do it. You don't really even think of a plan, you just try to jump into it. So now at 30, because I did that at 20, I already knew what was to come of that, so I started now my 30 plan with the plan, not just jumping into it. I have people I have to feed at home. So I can't just go out there and say, okay, I do not have a plan, I'm not going to make any money. But just having faith, honestly, and just, you know, when you tell them, because you have to be prepared for the negative. Like some people, everybody's not going to support you. Some people are not going to be like, that's a great idea. They're going to have some friends that are family members that's like, yo, you dope, I know already, like do that. But you're going to have people that's like, are you crazy? You're going to leave your job making blah, blah, blah. And you just have to know that this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to stick with that regardless of what type of feedback you get.
All right, thank you everyone.
Really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for coming. Volunteers, thank you for volunteering. People that just showed up and said, you know what, I'm going to help out. Thank you. The artists, if you're not an artist, please figure out who the artists are in the room. The reason we have this event is for them and for you. So let's do the other 50%. Give them attention. If you have, please do it one more time. I really appreciate all of you coming. There's going to be, the announcement. We got a $500 donation. So I appreciate the support. This is great. We're going to do it again next year. So I really appreciate it. And then please thank Tuba, she's the curator, the director, the one videographers, photographers, make sure you look good because we're going to send back some pictures and put something online. Thank you for coming. We're going to spend the last hour networking. Please tip waitresses. You deserve it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.